So help me make
Sounds
sure.
good. I'm going to try to watch it come over on the Facebook screen to see if we're live.
And I'm doing that right now as well. So everybody ready? Last second little adjustment of the call. All right, here we go. Good morning, Nevada, and welcome to our community coffee this morning. My name is Luke Spence, City Councilman for Nevada, and we are here today with several members of our community to talk about mental health within our schools and the effects the pandemic have been having on that, with some look at what services are available for everybody. We thought would be a good idea to talk about this today with the pandemic kind of escalating in Story County, and seeing more of the effects within our school. And it kind of came about as I was part of the Eastern Story County YSS Champions meeting on Zoom a few weeks ago, about a month ago. Myself and the mayor, as well as a couple of our panelists, I believe, were on that call. And I think the mayor and I both had the same idea at about the same time, that this would be a great subject to bring to our community coffee forum that we have here, as we heard quite a few members of the Nevada School District and Collins Maxwell and Colonesco as well. Just wondering what the services are that are available to students and families that are having increased mental health issues, whether that's anxiety or just anything that falls into that realm. So we thought this would be a great subject to talk about, to get some information out there, answer questions if anybody has any, and go from there. So we'll be here for about an hour or so if needed, and have a great discussion, I think. So I thought we'd start by introducing everybody that we have here today. I'm going to go across the Zoom line on my screen and give you each a minute to introduce yourself. I think we have a lot of familiar faces here, though, for most of Nevada, but for those who may not be as familiar, we'll start here with Jody Heron.
Hi there, I'm Jody Heron. I am the Student and Family Development Specialist with the Nevada School District, and I work from the littles all the way up to the olders. So get to be in all of the different buildings.
Excellent. And next we have Tracy.
There we go. I'm Tracy Engstrom. I'm a clinical social worker. I provide school-based therapy. I'm a sole practitioner, so not associated with the school, but I have been blessed to be in the schools for quite a few years now. And I work also with elementary through high school, and even see some adults in my office.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. And now Eileen.
Hi, I'm the school nurse at Nevada Middle School, which is 5 through 8, and also the high school 9 through 12.
And last but not least, we have Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson. I'm a service coordinator with CICS in Story County. That stands for Central Iowa Community Services. We are the 11 county mental health disability services region here in Central Iowa. Yeah, and we fund and set up services for folks with mental health and other kinds of disabilities.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here. We also have Marlis Barker, our communications director, kind of watching in the background, both to help make sure everything goes well technologically wise, but also to see if there's any questions that come through on the Facebook feed as well. So if Marlis wants to say hello, she's more than welcome to right now as well. But we all know Marlis.
Hello. I'm just trying to see if I can actually see the comments. So I'll keep an eye on it, see if I can watch.
Sounds good. Thank you, Marlis. And I also want to thank, before we get too deep into this, I want to thank Mayor Barker, Karen Wright, our city clerk, and Marlis for helping with the tech support and helping me learn how to do all this, which has been a fun experience. And also encourage anybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments on our Facebook feed today. And we'll make sure we give everybody an opportunity to give their contact information later on if anybody does have questions that they want to ask to any of the four of you later on, or try to get in touch with you in some way as well. So I thought we'd start with the two school employees, I guess, and just go into what are you seeing right now in the schools from a mental health standpoint? And I don't, whoever wants to go first, I guess.
I can go first. I think, you know, I think I would say that I see a rise in anxiety and depression. I think that it's been a hard time for kids. It's been a hard time for adults. And I think that there's just a lot of fear and a lot of isolation, both things that I think tend to probably amp those things up. I also, another thing that I noted, or I wanted to talk about today, is how much the adults that kids are around have an effect on how kids are feeling. And a lot of conversations that I know that are being had, or a lot of things that really we're not able to technically kind of hide from our kids right now, right? Like this is just a really hard time. And so I think we have to be cognizant of that, and really kind of watch what we're saying and how we're presenting things to kids on all levels. So.
Yeah, and I will echo that too. I do see a lot of that. And then I don't know that a lot of the kids realize what they're feeling is anxiety or fear or isolation. So they'll come to me and say, oh, you know, I've got a really bad stomach ache, or I've got a terrible headache. It's not going away. So I see more of the physical symptoms, I guess, that anxiety can cause, the stomach aches, the headaches, you know, just the apprehension. They'll say, you know, I can't concentrate. So I am seeing a lot of that in all both the schools.
And would you guys say most of that is all, I mean, might be obvious, but is most of that related to COVID, or just the downlying effects of everything we've been dealing with here with?
I'm not sure it's
You know, I would
COVID, but I think it's been just lasting such a long time that, you know, like Jody said, the fear, the isolation of not seeing your friends or being on that team, or, you know, whatever, being able to be with somebody, you know, so I guess it's definitely a factor, but I don't think it's just specifically that.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing. I do think that there's a lot of things that are related to COVID. I also think it's different, well, in a lot of different ways. One thing that I'll see is, you know, I'm working with a lot of our online learners too, and so they may not have the amount of contact with other kids or other people. And so I do think that is a lot of COVID related. I also think that there's been a lot of things that have been going on simultaneously with this. So, for example, kind of our political climate that has been going on during all of this too. We have seen a lot of kiddos that have been pretty amped up on all levels due to that. So,
this is just me thinking off the top of my head. Are there skills that you guys can teach or pass on to kids that are dealing with that, on how to deal with stress or something like that? And that might go into you know, Tracy's part of the conversation too. But are there skills that you guys can teach during the school day on how kids can deal with that stress, or
yeah, absolutely. I know I had asked Devin, our middle school counselor, what she's seeing too. And she said she focuses on self-care, making sure that they can do things to take care of themselves, focusing on what they can control, you know, the hand washing, the wearing the mask, keeping the distance, just listening to them, validating that their feelings are, you know, valid and important. And she says practicing gratitude is really important. And then deep breathing and mindfulness. I know Meg Frieders does a lot in the school district, teaching the staff and students, deep breathing and just the mindfulness and how to take just a few minutes and kind of calm and center yourself. So those are a few things that we can kind of do, at least, help a little bit.
Yeah, the deep breathing.
Yeah, and I think our counselors, oh, sorry, Luke.
Oh, I was just to say the deep breathing thing is something they've been teaching us at the airlines to help get through stressful situations too, and it's helped at council meetings lately too.
Definitely,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. I would say our counselors on all levels have been just rock stars. I can't really say enough good about them, and I was going to talk about that as we get further down, but on our agenda. But what I wanted to say is they are really great resources and are really great at referring on when kids may need a little extra help, but they're spectacular in the school, and focusing on that social emotional learning and all of those things, that Devin gave as examples. So we have Emily Cruzy and Aaron Murphy at our elementary, and Devin O'Connell at the middle school, and Jeff Baker at the high school. Then Elizabeth Gent and myself do a lot of, we're not school counselors, but we have different roles in working with kids and families. And so we would be happy, any of us, to talk with families about their kids and what they're experiencing or themselves, and in terms of reaching out and going that next step if they need resources or referrals. But also, I think they're really good at noticing what is kind of needed. So maybe it is a check-in with a counselor at school. Maybe it is a little group that they might do together, a friendship group or something like that. Maybe it is something that we need to contact Tracy and, see if we can get some more intensive services in place. So it's really kind of looking at each child or family individually and seeing what it is they're needing. So I would encourage people to make sure you reach out. They're great resources and have lots of ideas.
Excellent. If you're a parent with kids and you just don't know what you're looking for when it comes to seeing if kids are having a tough time with all this, what are some of the signs parents can be looking for to see if their kids are struggling with anxiety or mental health or anything like that right now?
I think
I'll admit all four of you for that.
Yeah, I think what Eileen was talking about is you're going to see some of those physical symptoms like headaches, stomach aches. Oftentimes, and I think that COVID makes this even worse, because it's like, you see some of these stress responses that are like physical illness. And then of course we're like, is this illness or is this stress? Also, especially with kids, you're often just going to see behavioral kinds of things where, younger kids can't always put the name to the feeling. And so oftentimes you'll just see more irritability or more aggression, or more non-compliance, just not able to follow those rules. Whereas with older kids, you might see more isolation or more acting out. And just to kind of go back a little bit on what we were talking about, we have a great community, a lot of resources at all three of the schools. I feel like the nurses are really well equipped and understand both the social and emotional stuff that's going on. But we do, I think, often see that, that kids are not necessarily able to verbalize it. And so if we can make sure that they have, someone to talk to. Oftentimes we as adults are super stressed out too. And so it's hard for us to take the time to sit down and process through some of this stuff. So I encourage kids to do that with each other, and the people that, that they can spend time with, that they're able to talk through kind of what's stressing them out or the feelings that they're having. Hopefully that took care of some of that.
Kathy, do you have anything to add on that?
Maybe I just want to kind of add a semi-personal note here. My two sons, who are now young men, both really struggled with anxiety when they started in elementary school. And how it manifested was lots of questions about reassurance. And I think if you have a child that you know already kind of is an anxious kid and deals with that this time period has just amped that up for kids. And it's okay to reassure, the best that you can, because I was never ever more surprised than when they became adults and told me the things that they thought when they were 10, that I was like, why on earth would you have thought that? But it's that 10-year-old mind, and kids can take things and blow them way out of proportion. So we need to be reassuring.
Yeah, I've heard children in session, very young elementary kids, say things were so much easier before COVID.
Yeah.
And just being able to verbalize that, and then to be able to talk them through and let them know that it is hard, and it's hard for us, and we're going to get through it together. But that they need to keep talking about it, so that they don't, so they're not alone through it.
We are definitely all in this together. There's no doubt about that. Whether we want to be or not, we're all in this together. What services are available for people who might think their child or maybe themselves need to reach out to have some help with getting through this? What are some of the services available in Story County to help connect the dots here, get the people to the right services that they need?
I can start with that. We're pretty fortunate. We do have a lot of services in Story County, and actually more on the way for kids and families. I think it's important for us to look at the continuum of services, that it starts with the things that Jody and Eileen have talked about with school. Start with your school, with your counselor, with the nurse, with Jody, with the people there that maybe can help. And if those things aren't working, then look at, do I need to call a therapist? And the cool thing about like what Tracy does is that first step of therapy can, they're going to do an evaluation and kind of see how serious is this, what's going on, what does this child need? So if they need maybe medication along with therapy to kind of help augment that, that's something that a therapist can tell you and refer you for. I think it's important too for parents to know what's out there kind of as emergency crisis kinds of services, because a lot of people don't. So things can happen on the weekend and at night, and your kid can have a meltdown, and you don't know what to do about that. Your Life Iowa is a resource that every family needs to have that number written somewhere, because it is the crisis center number that people can call if you're having any kind of a mental health crisis. You can call for your kid, you can call for anybody. That number is 855-581-8111, in case people need to write that down. They will answer. That's answered 24 hours a day. And those people are trained to know the resources that are available in your specific area. So,
Kathy, could you repeat that number really slowly one more time?
Yes, I sure can. It's 855-581-8111. When you call that number, they're there just to talk, but they're also there to assess and to refer. So if it's, we are having this major crisis and my kid is in a meltdown and I don't know what to do, they can look at what is an immediate solution to that for you. We are very lucky to have Irely Ball's mobile crisis unit here in Story County. So what mobile crisis does is they come to you. So they send out a team of trained people who are trained in how to deal with mental health crises to your home if you want them to come, and they'll help you assess. They can talk through a situation, get everybody to a point maybe where things are calmed down. If not, they can help you make the decision. does this need a higher level of care? Do we need to maybe go to the emergency room and have them assess what kind of behavioral health treatment we need? The cool thing about mobile crisis is they are going to follow up for 30 days. So they're going to be available to this family to look at making other appointments. Hey, maybe we need a therapist. How do we get a hold of Tracy to find out if we can have some ongoing therapy here? Your Life Iowa, fabulous resource for people. We also have YSS now has a crisis stabilization unit for kids that we didn't have in Story County before. It's housed at Rosedale at their shelter. And I think you just call them or go there and they will help evaluate, does this kid need to be here for a while? So crisis stabilization is short term. It's usually only for 5 days, but during that time, we can look at other services. What kinds of things could this child be needing ongoing? And also the family, what kinds of things can the family need? And people can also always call our office. You can call Story County Community Services here. Our number is 515-663-2930. And there are other service coordinators like myself, and our job is just to help people figure out what kind of services they need. Funding is up. People always say, how is this going to be paid for? Well, we can help pay for services. If people don't have private insurance that pays for those things or Medicaid, and private insurance, interestingly enough, doesn't pay for some of those higher level of services that people might need. But people can apply for funding with us through the county, and we can look at short-term funding while we're helping families to see, are you eligible for Medicaid? Is there some other kind of insurance you can have? So start with Story County Community Services, start with Your Life Iowa if people need referral for services.
Excellent. That was a lot of information.
I know, I talked fast.
I'm sorry, Kathy, can you repeat the number for your agency again?
I sure can. 515-663-2930.
And that's a service for people with Community and Family Resources of Iowa. Is that which organization? I'm sorry.
That's CICS, Central Iowa Community Services. That's the Story County office.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
And we can also give information. I mean, if people hearing this that live in Hardin County or Marshall County, they're within our region. Also a resource that I always forget to tell people about. We have a website, www.cicsmhds.org. Will take you to the CICS website. We have on there a children's services directory. We have an adult services directory as well. That'll tell you in all of our 11 counties what's out there, the services that we contract with, and a lot of them that we don't contract with, but we want you to know about. So therapists, what hospitals and clinics, what kinds of things are out there for people in terms of services. So that's a resource anybody can just go online and look at.
Excellent. Excellent. Along the same lines of services available, I know, Tracy, you see a lot of kids from our school. Do you want to go into what type of services you guys do at your office?
Sure. So just last year, I actually started supervising, I think probably somebody that a lot of people are familiar with. Whitney Anderson has been working at the Resource Center for a very long time. And so her and I are currently in the community and in all 3 schools doing school-based mental health therapy. There are a lot of other mental health therapists in the area as well. I believe that there are at least a couple more that actually come into our community or into our schools. So it's not just us. I think it's probably, I mean, I've just learned a whole bunch from Kathy. So it's, you know, really the services, it's sort of getting the word out of, you know, who's here and where to go. So with regards to our services, most of our referrals come through the school. But I also get people just calling me. Obviously, parents, teachers, can refer as well. As far as mental health therapy goes in the schools or in the elementary school, we tend to do more of a play therapy model. So the elementary is wonderful, and they've given us a play therapy room for, I think it's been a dozen years that I've been there now. So kids can come in and kind of, play and get comfortable, build the trust, and then, sort of begin to explore some of the issues that they're struggling with. I would, echo what other people have said. This year has been high on anxiety. Often kids don't realize that that's what they're feeling, or that, that our situation is making that worse. Starting in the middle school, we tend to do a little bit, we'll still play card games while we talk, but it's always easier for kids to share when we're not, staring them down. So playing cards while we kind of process through, symptoms of anxiety, depression, struggles at home, struggles with school. And then in the high school, we also do obviously pretty exclusively talk therapy. Each school kind of works with us to make sure that we take into consideration the kids' schedule. So whether it's office staff or the counselors or the teachers, we try really hard to schedule things around the kids' schedule so that we're not interfering with those, important classes. And then we do have the office for family therapy meetings. I think that it is, especially right now, it is really, really important to take those families into consideration. Kids are just mirrors of us. And so if we are really stressed about what's going on, they're going to feel that, and they're going to need to process that as well. Does that answer?
Absolutely. And I just want to emphasize, much of what you do is in the school during school hours too. So it's not conflicting with soccer practice or play practice or anything else going on in the evening. It's at school when the students are there, normal school hours, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I would say one of the most, it's just been amazing over the years that, teachers are willing to work around it. It does take a lot less time. If you've got to pull a child out of school to go to Ames for therapy, you're talking about at least an hour and a half. Whereas if you're in the school, depending on the session length, you're looking at 30 to 45 minutes. Plus, then we really have this wraparound of services where I can talk to the guidance counselor and I can talk to the teacher. For the most part, the reason I'm still in this school district is because people don't tend to get over involved into therapy. But like if a teacher's struggling with a certain behavior, they might reach out. Or, if a parent is struggling with something, they might say, hey, talk to Tracy. It just opens a whole nother, area of conversation and communication. And as far as scheduling goes, I think it works. I think it's less stressful for the kids, honestly, to get pulled out for 30 minutes and meet, and then they're right back into their day.
And it's the familiar environment too that they're all familiar with. So that always helps probably too, I'm sure.
Yes, I agree. And they see me walking around the school. So honestly, to a lot of the kids, especially in the elementary school, I'm just another teacher. So that's helpful too, I think. And they don't perceive it as any kind of a stigma or anything. It's more of a, I just get to go and process or learn about feelings there.
Right. You're part of the team.
Yeah.
I had a question texted me. I had a question texted me from somebody asking, how can parents help at home? Easier. That's a very broad, maybe too so easy. It's a hard question to answer, but
I'm just gonna chime in, and then I'll sit back for a while. I really think there is a huge value in just sitting down and talking through it. Or play a game, or I just, what I have noticed in my own family and in the kids that I'm working with, just a connection. especially right now while connections are kind of, decreased, that eye contact, really listening with your devices put away and really connecting eye to eye, I think is really, really valuable right now.
Everybody must be in agreement on that answer.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I echo that. And I also think, it would be nice just to kind of have all things off and just be really present with your child. So, so you don't have the TV in the background that's talking about the COVID numbers that are increasing or whatever might be going on, or a screen that's telling us that. I think that that's really important, what you said, Tracy. And just really being present and doing some of those things. We had a parenting series prior to COVID, and we weren't able to finish that, but we were talking a lot about, even our own childhood memories and the things that we had so much fun doing, like building a fort in the living room and, making a snack tray and, hanging out and playing board games, doing scavenger hunts. And if you need ideas, we have lots of those. And so we would be more than willing to talk through some of that if it's something that you're not familiar with. Not every family did all of that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of great things that are out there that it's like, oh, hey, that's a great idea. Let's try that with our kiddo. And just playing. All ages. We all like that.
I know with my kids back more during the summer, we went out to, I tried to get to all of the county parks in Story County. I don't think we made it to all of them, but went to as many as we could with a trail so that we could just get outside. We're not around people as much. There'd be some people, but not a lot, but you can do the social distancing thing. You don't have the mask on. You can see some nature, and had a good time, which is something we hadn't really done a whole lot of in the past, but it was a great way for us to get out and do something that's not enclosed in the house all day. Now, sometimes board games, I don't know about you guys. Monopoly at our house can be
Oh, no,
stress
not
inducing.
Monopoly. Any other game but
Short. They have to be short.
Yeah, short board games.
Or
But
you break
also,
the
I think, oops, excuse me, eating, healthy meals and getting enough sleep are very vital to getting the kids through that school day and helping them. So sleep is just so urgent right now. So, consistent bedtimes, if possible. I know that's harder when the kids are older and doing homework all night long, but, and I know they're on their devices so much, which is kind of a problem, especially if they're online, but limiting that when you can, and healthy eating, and just getting out and exercising, walking the dog, doing something, some sort of physical, getting out in nature. Yeah, I would echo that as well. Super important.
I think it's important too for parents right now to take care of themselves first and foremost. If you're feeling really stressed, if you're having trouble controlling your anxiety and your depression, it's just, I don't understand how anybody parents in this time, frankly. I've looked at folks with young kids with the greatest of admiration in the last 9 months. It's the most extremely difficult situation of parenting that I've ever seen in my lifetime. So parents need to not feel guilty about having their own support system and their own sounding board. And if you feel like I need to get a therapist for myself so that I have a place to deal with my fear and my anxiety, do that. That is good for you and your family.
Yeah, and
Right.
when we talk about the eating well and sleeping well and stuff like that, I've tried to include, my kids all seem to like cooking, so I try to, if I'm cooking, to try to get at least one, if not a couple of them. Sometimes if there's more of them in the kitchen, it might cause more stress, but having them help cook, or if I'm working in the garage, have some of them come out and help me work in the garage. It helps increase the communication like we were talking about, and maybe teach something in the meantime too, or teach how to cook the spaghetti the wrong way. Sometimes I can do that.
Another thing I just wanted to add, one of my roles within the school district is obviously working a lot with parents. And doing kind of that resource referral type of thing. So I'd be happy to come. I do a lot of home visits. I will meet people, you know, where they're at, and talk through some of those services, whether it be for themselves or their children, and even go that next step of helping them to navigate the system. Sometimes I think that gets a little overwhelming, I will say. You know, sometimes we look at things and we're like, oh, where do I even begin? Or who do I call? Or you're giving me this information, but I don't know, is this the right step that I take for my kid? Or should I call? Or, you know, there's all of those questions that I think we have as parents. And, you know, I would be happy to talk through some of that, or even go that next step and go with them to whatever services might be needed. So
While we're on that subject, then Jody, where can people get in touch with you, or how can they get in touch with you?
but any of the schools, so you can either call one of the school numbers. You can reach me by, you know, contacting me on my email, which is jheeren, and it's JHEEREN at nevadacubs.org. Or probably the easiest way is through my own cell phone number, which is 515-291-5993.
Excellent. Excellent.
I will post those numbers pretty soon, Jody, but Luke, can I interject with a question?
Absolutely.
Because I think we have a good panel here for something that I've been seeing a lot of on social media. There's a little bit of a kind of a difference of opinion raging on social media right now about the upcoming holidays. And there's the trying to balance the importance of being together with people who may really need that togetherness for this Thanksgiving versus staying safe and not having large family gatherings because of what those might do to drive up the numbers. So I'm wondering how this panel feels about those issues, and whether you feel there are ways to meet both the need for the human interaction and yet to stay safe. What do you advise families as they think about the holidays that are coming up?
Nobody wants to step in that one. That's a big. I'll just say, as the resident old person here, think about the old people in your family. I am very fortunate. My two grown sons live in Minneapolis and Atlanta, and they are the most conscientious people about this. I mean, I have wanted them to come, you know, it'll be okay. And they're like, no, we are not doing that. I am not going to put you at risk. So I think you do need to realize there are some people that are at risk more than others. And just, I don't know, try to find creative ways to do this. If you have Zoom capabilities in your family, what a cool thing to have a Zoom Thanksgiving dinner across the country or across the state and have everybody eat together. Those kinds of things are possible. And even just doing that via phone. I think we have to be creative, but we can make that into a fun challenge kind of thing.
Yeah, and I would echo what Kathy's saying. I think, you know, we haven't seen family for 9 months. And it, you know, I said about a month ago, we just need to sort of keep ourselves safe and get together this year. And then my daughter tested positive for COVID. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're not going to get to see each other for Thanksgiving again. But we can do the Zoom thing. And I think there are some people who are willing to put a mask on and take the risk. And so I think communication, you know, talk to the people that you want to get together with and find out whether you're willing to take that risk. And then how do you keep yourself safe then when you go back to your community? Right. Some people are working exclusively at home. And so getting together for Thanksgiving, everybody masked, might not be too far-fetched of an idea, but I think communication is key. Mental health has come up a lot with this of, isn't it hurting mental health to be isolated? And I would say this kind of meeting where I can see your eyes is different than when I'm trying to talk to you on the phone. So don't be afraid to try, video meetings and stuff for the holidays. I think it meets some of those connection, needs.
I read a quote it was on social media the other day that it's probably best that most of us sacrifice seeing family this holiday season so that everybody's around next holiday season, which is
Right.
tough to deal with that now, but I think we'd all like to have a normal holiday season next in 2021 if we can.
Yeah, we had planned to go down to Atlanta to visit my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and we just thought, we changed about a month ago. We said, no, that's just not going to happen, and we'll Zoom and FaceTime with our kids that live out in Maryland too. So yeah, because we want to see them later.
Yeah.
It's kind of a unique, experience. I mean, in reality, we can probably get together a lot easier now than we could, a few years ago because of video,
Yeah.
possibilities.
Yeah.
The good thing is you can make all the Thanksgiving side dishes and get them all for yourself.
Yes. Yeah, that is very true. My husband has brought that up. I will get all the scallop corn this year. I don't
Yes,
have to
and
share that with anyone.
the mashed potatoes are all mine.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's one more question that I kind of had laid out, and it's how can someone get help for their child, which we've kind of touched on already, but just is there any other resources or easy first contacts that you guys would recommend for?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out to YSS and give the
Yeah, that's what I
website
was gonna
and
do.
phone number for them if I could. So Marla,
Yeah.
if you're ready for that. The YSS number is 515-233-2250. And they are www.yss.org for all their services. They have prevention, treatment, you name it. And actually in the high school, we're going to start a early morning kind of let's talk tough topics with some of the high schoolers. That's just something that's new. They do that at Collins Maxwell, and Jerry Ann's gonna bring that up to Nevada here second semester. So looking forward to that. So kids can kind of talk with an adult and a counselor and just tough topics. So yeah, there are things that we're doing in the schools and want to, we're there to listen. We want to help. So the kids just kind of need to ask if they can.
Oh, that's very cool. Also, I agree with Eileen. Start with YSS. If you don't have insurance or you find out that your insurance doesn't cover, YSS will have you do the CICS application for funding and send it to us to see if you're eligible for region funding for therapy for outpatient. So if you start with them, they'll get to us for funding if need be.
And you're always welcome to call any of us at the school. Even our administration, they will refer on to the next step or get it to one of the counselors who are, very equipped to talk through what might be the best option. And like Kathy talked about before, like funding sometimes can get in the way or make people stop. Don't stop. There are resources that are out there to help with that. So.
Yeah, I would just, as a parent of kids in the district as well, I feel very confident that, you could reach out to pretty much anybody in any one of the schools and just pose the question and they'll be able to point you in the next direction or take care of some of that and lay some of the foundation or groundwork down. So.
Excellent. Well, I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to give out their contact information if anybody wanted to reach out to you guys individually. I know some of you have. I can't remember. Did Tracy, were you able to, did you get your
No.
number out there?
Okay, so I've got email or phone number. And so the email would be TL Engstrom, ENGSTROM. And I'm at Gmail. And my phone number is 515-451-3015. And I don't have Whitney's, but I will forward it on if anyone is looking. She's, she is also seeing clients and will be for the next year. And because she is because she's being supervised right now, it is basically pro bono or free of charge. So yeah, so I mean, if there are finance issues, I would say that is one of the biggest things that a lot of people are afraid of, the cost. And we just have a lot of resources that, would not, you can get a lot of services regardless of whether you can pay or not.
Excellent. Let's see, Eileen, did you give out your contact information if anybody needs?
Oh, I can do that. It's my first initial E. Hang on, my dogs are going to bark here.
I'm just glad the mailman hasn't come by my house, or else I'd have dogs barking up and down too.
Okay, I think that's better. E. Patterson, PATTERSON at nevadacubs.org. And my work phone, it's new, 515-934-8083 is my office phone. So if parents had any questions, they can give me a call or email. Happy to talk to them.
Excellent. Excellent. We're at 45 minutes right now. Marlis, do you have any other questions that came across your head or that came across online?
I do not think so.
Excellent. Well, I think that was a very content-rich 45 minutes, if I do say so myself. I want to thank all four of you. I work with all four of you in different realms, not so much this, but having all four of you together today was really good. So thank all four of you, and Marlis as well, for participating. Is there anything else anybody else wanted to get out there real quick, or an issue you wanted to touch on before we sign off for the day?
Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
Just a second, guys, let me see. I think there might have just been a comment. Let me just take a look.
Okay. And I'll just reiterate, wash your hands, wear your mask, wash
That's
your
right.
cloth masks, make sure the kids are not wearing that same mask day in and day out, wash them. Hand washing, social distance, do the best you can. It does make a difference.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay, I think most of what I'm seeing is just comments from people that were listening and grateful for the information. So I will continue to put out a few of these contact numbers and things under this video for people. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all. And of course, anybody can rewatch this video later. They didn't just have to watch all of this now. So you got all the contact information out there in Facebook for everybody to see forever. And thank you again to to the five of you for coming today and providing some good information. So with that, everybody have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you, Luke. You too. Stay well, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you do.